Welcome to Faith, Hope, and Stories. There are many people in our coastal community planting seeds of faith, hope, and love. Some you may know already, and others you don't know yet. They're your neighbors, and they have a calling, a mission, a purpose. These are their stories. Faith, Hope, and Stories is a production of Epworth United Methodist Church in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Good morning. I'm here with Doug Yetter at Epworth United Methodist Church, and we're still in guinea pig mode here with this podcast, but I wanted to take a few minutes to introduce this fella. Doug Yetter is a Rehoboth Beach arts leader, musician, and theater founder whose career has blended performance, directing, composing, and church music leadership. He helped build Clear Space Theater here into a major local cultural institution and has continued serving the community through music ministry and choral work. He's the artistic director of the Camp Rehoboth Chorus, and I knew him first as the minister of music here at Epworth. That's the official short bio. Thank you, AI. We'll learn more about Doug because I'll ask a lot of questions, but I have to say when I first met him in 2021, I found him totally intimidating.
No.
Yes, at least musically. He had me audition on the keyboard, and I don't sight read very well, especially when I'm nervous. I can't play by ear, and I can't transpose on demand, and I don't have a repertoire of millions of musical selections or works that I've composed. Doug does all those things. Now I just know him as the musical mentor who can casually drop a wildly off-color joke in a place where you'd least expect it, like the Epworth Handbell Choir rehearsal. And somehow they're not scandalized, or maybe they just don't get your joke.
That's possible.
Anyway, Doug, first I have to ask you the question that is on everyone's mind. How many sequin jackets do you own? No, actually, that's not my first question. Can you remember when you first realized that music was going to be your world, your future?
I was pretty darned young. Mom was a singer and loved to sing in the car. She'd teach my sister and I songs. Then she taught us to harmonize. So for my 4th birthday, I said, my parents said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want a piano." And Dad went out and got a second job to pay for it.
And how were the piano lessons? Were they painful? Or?
No, there were, I kept asking for like fun songs. Like I wanted to learn to play Alley Cat. And luckily my teacher was very open to that kind of thing.
And was music an escape for you? And is it still?
It turned into an escape like through my teenage years.
Mm-hmm. How's that work?
I moved the piano into my bedroom so I could practice in there without having to put up a football, or my parents really. But also it got me out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I'd taken up some other instruments. I was playing with a youth orchestra in Denver. I was asked to solo on a Haydn piano concerto. I did the Rhapsody in Blue with the same small symphony in Denver.
Rhapsody in Blue, that's not small potatoes.
It was a mighty undertaking, a lot more than the Haydn piano was.
What did your parents think of you and your musical inclinations? Were they supportive?
My biological father was so completely and totally tone deaf. I could play Jingle Bells or Clair de Lune, and he would not have any idea which one was which. So he was very supportive of he went out and got the second job to get the piano.
Right.
But he was he loved country music because he enjoyed the stories.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, he really couldn't distinguish a pitch. Completely different from my mother, who, played ukulele, sang, was very musical.
So what did you major in college? Did you major in music?
I majored in composition.
Yeah, and I read that you've written several things which I've never had the pleasure of hearing. What kind of compositions have you written?
I did. My undergrad was in new music composition, so I wrote pieces for brake pads and clarinets that never really played notes. They just squeaked and squawked. I wrote one for cell phones. It was just experiment.
Let's go back to brake
Brake
pads.
pads was because they come in so many sizes and they make this great clunky sound.
So it was very avant-garde.
It was pretty, I was stretching myself.
Yeah.
I'd had an English teacher in 9th grade that was very impressed that I typed an essay on paper towels.
Yeah.
Just to be weird.
Yeah. You are a creative fellow.
But the rest, most of my music was show music. I've written 9 musicals and an opera and some chamber pieces.
And where have these been performed?
The shows, there was a producer in Denver that asked me to start writing. I wrote, I think, 3 musicals for them. I did another 3 for another producer in Denver. And then past that, an old friend and I wrote Around the World in 80 Days, Christmas Carol, Dracula, and Christmas Carol ended up being off Broadway.
What was your first paying music gig?
My first paying music gig was sitting in the window of I don't remember the name of the music shop. I was trying to sell Thomas organs to passersby at 11.
At 11 years old?
Yes.
How did that go?
People would stop and kind of, "Ooh, isn't that funny? It's a little kid. He can hardly reach the pedals."
Were you an organ prodigy back then?
I wouldn't say I was a prodigy. The organ I had at home only had an octave keyboard. So when I got into church organ, that was like, oh dear, now my right foot has to work.
One of the questions I've always wanted to ask you is just kind of how you found your way to Delaware from Colorado. Tell me that story.
So one of the things that I'd gotten into in the 70s because of Marvin Hamlish and the Sting and Gunter Schuller from the New England Conservatory was ragtime. And I became pretty well known in ragtime circles, and I won a competition or 2 here and there. And because of that and my interest in old music, 1890 through about 35, I had a producer call me and say, we're looking for a new guy to head our music program here. And it was the Phillips restaurants, the seafood restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
And they flew me out to Baltimore, and I saw that. And then they took me to the Washington, D.C. location, and I went down to the the Norfolk location. And I ended up at the Norfolk location for about 2 years. And then they transferred me up to Baltimore, and I did tons of piano bar up there. That led me to actually going to college at 42. That was late. I played my whole life and never really had time for it. And then I ended up going to the graduate program at NYU, the Graduate Musical Theater Writing Program. And so I was up there a year before the program and stayed a year after. We'd vacationed in Rehoboth, and then that ended up where we moved back after Manhattan. That's kind of a culture shock.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
It was a nice one, mind you. My blood pressure was much better down here.
So is that when Clear Space happened?
Yes, that's when Clear Space happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite the cultural phenomenon around here still. What was your role in that? You founded the place, correct? Yeah.
My partner at the time and also co-founder, Ken Kshesh. Ken was a dancer and director, and I was the musician and had also done a lot of directing over the years. So, we'd split writing tasks and directing, and we started the educational branch with the Broadway Bound program to get kids trained better, because our goal really was to create a well-trained theater company. Not just people that went, oh, I think I'm going to audition for this play.
I've been there.
Yeah.
So you felt like you were bringing some level of professionalism, or at least non-amateurism, to Rehoboth.
Yeah, our thought is, or was, still is, that you become a professional through studying and, really studying the craft.
Do you consider yourself this is another question I've always wanted to ask you, because you're surrounded by non-perfection.
I don't think so.
If you consider yourself a perfectionist. because you have to deal with, bell ringers, praise team musicians, singers. How do you regard yourself as a perfectionist?
No,
What's your philosophy?
I've always, you know, looked at things. I too much teaching in my life. I look at things, I assess things, I try and figure out what I can do to help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and without telling them generally, I will try and gently guide them to something else or, say, hey, just keep your mouth a little bit further open, or, you know, hey, just, try this. And um, I think that kind of guidance has kept me from being too much of a perfectionist. I really take people where they are,
That's a good thing around
except
here.
you.
Every once in a while, you look around me and like, what was that note?
Well, it's the pedal or whatever that is sticks back there.
Oh, geez. Tell me about your experience with Camp Rehoboth Chorus, because it just seems to be getting more and more popular. And what makes it so much fun for you, for the singers, and for the audience? It's just a lot of fun.
Well, one of the early components of Clear Space was I started a community chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And that went from, I don't know, 24 people the first year to 89 or something a year later. It grew fast. But then we realized that that was kind of off mission. So through some very painful discussions, we ended up deciding to let it go.
Mm.
That got picked up by Faye Jacobs, who said, I think we could have a great, fun chorus. And she went to Steve Elkins and Murray Archibald at camp and said, can I start a chorus? And he said, sure, go ahead. So they hired a director and Dave Sipsey as accompanist and did the same thing that I'd done with, the Clear Space chorus.
Mm-hmm.
It started off about 28 people. Um, the third season, they approached me and said, would you have any interest in doing this? And I said, I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt I kind of picked up the Clear Space chorus from where it was
Yeah.
and just started over there. Um, I think something that always bothered me was that I got bored with classical music, realizing that I probably was never going to be another Rubinstein or Van Cliburn. And there were a lot of people that knew like all the Beethoven sonatas and
Mm-hmm.
knew all of this. And I really got into popular music
Mm-hmm.
and decided why, there's already a chorus in the area that does the Messiah, that does the Brahms Liebeslieder. So I said, we're going to do 20th century standards,
Mm-hmm.
popular stuff. Um, and I think that's that. And I really encourage the chorus to enjoy themselves, which is something a lot of places don't. It's like, no, stop smiling.
But you do audition people.
Do for placement,
Mm-hmm.
just so I know their voice. I have a chance to chat with them for 10 minutes and get to know them a little bit better and say, okay, I think I'll put you in the second tenor section.
Mm-hmm. It just seems wildly popular. Like it sells out. Uh, almost
Yeah.
almost sells out every season.
Yeah.
And
And
people.
sometimes, like the February concert, which was the one they started with, we only used to do one concert a year. Now we do three, but the February concert has a tendency to completely sell out like 2 or 3 weeks in
Mm-hmm.
advance. Unheard of.
Yeah, and I just think I had an experience. I was a couple of concerts ago where people were singing to the music, which I'm sure that doesn't scandalize you that people were singing along.
I generally turn around and say, come on.
And it almost became an incident because somebody didn't,
Oh,
I
that,
paid money. I
yes,
don't
that,
want to hear you sing. I want to hear them sing.
that does happen.
Yeah. We made mincemeat out of her.
No, oops.
Yeah. Um, I'm interested in how you first became interested in sacred music. If it was just something that you fell into, or when and where did that happen? And was it choir music, the organ, something else?
Yeah, I had a very active church life. I mean, it was the 60s into the 70s. Everybody went to church. Um, and so I approached the choir director and said, I'd like to do whatever I can If you need a piano player at any point.
Where was that?
In Denver. An old Lutheran church. And then the organist came to me. We'd done piano organ duets and, tried to help that music program. She came to me and said, "I'm pregnant. I'm due next March. I would really like it if you could, think about learning all the service music and working up enough stuff that you could cover me for 2 or 3 weeks after the birth." And I went, "That's easy. Sure, I'll do that. Please be back for Easter. Please." As it turned out, she had to be bedridden. She had one of those preeclampsia things right before Christmas. So I came in and took over the entire music program, like the second Sunday of Advent, and I was there through Easter. It was just me at 16.
Good God. Well, that's a wake-up call.
Baptism by fire.
So what do you enjoy most? Or I shouldn't, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you play the organ, you do you do the traditional stuff, you do the praise team stuff, you do the SATB choir stuff. Do you like the fact that you do it all?
I have loved having, I've had a lot of jobs in my life where, like, the first theater I went to work for, the first professional theater, I did all the arranging. I played for their shows. I played for the silent films as they're, like before they started. I did sing-alongs. I started writing shows there. So there, I had all these little branches of things that I could do. I adapted scripts. And that, has really been where I've been all my life.
You're called Minister of Music, which looking at you, some that title makes me laugh sometimes.
Well,
You're you're so- you're kind of a irreverent sort of fellow.
you can have a reverend or an irreverent.
What kind of music feeds your soul? What kind of sacred music or church music really makes you feel like, "Woo, I had an experience,"
There's certain things like Nessun Dorma. It just brings me to tears every time. I'm right now, I'm just thinking about, oh my God, I love that song. There are shows that do that to me. Ragtime. Boy, I tell you, the first 16-minute opening number of my life, and I was weeping. There was this little German lady that said, "Would you care for a tissue?" But yeah, I remember as a kid hearing, going to the Denver Symphony and hearing something the New World Symphony, that opening of the second movement just is so gorgeous.
Yeah. For me, I mean, it sounds so trite, but when the cannons start going in 1812 Overture, I'm like a Pavlov's dog. I just cry every time. That's kind of top 40, but that's my admission. Tell me about the Parkinson's group, the Voices of Hope group. How did that get
Well,
started?
I got strong-armed into that one. No.
I'll be talking to Rose at some
yes.
point.
I have a soprano in the choir that she's also in camp, and she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I thought, I'm going to do a little research just to see, as this progresses, how can I help? What can I do? And it had a lot to do with, I work on trying to help aging voices as well, because we don't have a very young choir. And I'd done, vocal therapy over the years. I'd gotten myself into some vocal trouble back in the 80s and studied with somebody that really got me out of that. So I just launched into it full force. There are, I don't know, a couple dozen Parkinson's choruses around the country, because Parkinson's generally, it can affect your diaphragm. It will affect the, amount of air you have to speak. There's some frequently facial paralysis where it just becomes hard. So we do tongue exercises, we do lip exercises, we do this swallowing exercise.
It doesn't sound like much fun, but they look like they're having a good time.
Well, we spend the first 45 minutes, working on, okay, everybody, top of the roller coaster, whee! And, little things, trying to make sure that the air and the voice come together. And then we spend the second half learning a themed group of songs, and then we have a presentation at the end of the 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We do 3 sessions a year.
And how do the people feel when they get to that point where they're actually performing their music?
I think they really love it. I mean, there's a lot of times where we'll get up to that point where we've added the narration and things, and you can see people, going, she said a wrong word. You told her not to put an S on that, and she said it. So they really do have an expectation of, being better.
What do you think it does for the members of the group?
It has given them a new source of community, because like a lot of them work out at the same gym. They have a Parkinson's exercise program at Rise, and they know each other from there, but they never really had a chance to sit down and talk. So we also take a break midway, and we have coffee and donuts and cookies and all the terrible things we can eat.
What do you do when you're not being musical?
I read. I don't do a lot.
True
No,
confessions.
well, when I'm looking at the Parkinson's chorus, the camp chorus, the bell choir, the praise team, it's a lot to keep up with every week. So I don't listen to the radio ever.
Do you watch news?
I watch news. I listen to news, and I will listen to a talk radio show. But there's so much music going on in my head all the time. It's like, oh boy, I don't don't give me one more tune.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, because like I've told you before, I'm just a year older than you, and I would never be able to keep up that pace. I don't know how you do it. You just seem to have a lot of energy. You obviously have a lot of caffeine.
Well, but the groups feed you. They give you an energy. It is a reciprocal thing. If I'm conducting, like with camp, I can flap my arms now, and they respond, or, I can bring them in, and they give that back to me.
You mentioned ragtime. Do you have a favorite musical or musicals?
Well, ragtime's right up there. 1776.
Really?
That was my first, like, wow, this is fantastic. That whole, 34 voice men's choir to open it, or chorus, and it's like, that's incredible. And I'm also a big Revolutionary War fan. I'm huge. A Little Night Music, Sondheim, gorgeous score. Boy, that's a beautiful score. And he was such a clever lyricist and writer. Oh my land. I like some of the old Rodgers and Hammerstein. I am such a sucker for Carousel. Like you said, when you walk through a storm. Yeah. Tug, tug, tug.
Is there a musical that you think's been overrated, or that got ruined by being on? It was great on Broadway, but then by the time it got to the movies, it was totally screwed over by whoever they chose to act the part. Or
Cats.
Oh God,
My ex-wife adored Cats. She just played that 8-track all the time. And we finally got a chance to see it. And I went, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I only got through about half of the film, but I went, yeah, it's dumb. It ran on one song.
Right.
If, everybody went, oh, that memory song, that's so beautiful.
I can't think of another song from Cats other than that.
Jellicle Cats.
I know you know, but I don't know.
No, and you don't need to. Was the other one I just thought of?
I thought of Guys and Dolls,
and
because it got to the screen, and
yeah,
it's Marlon Brando. They decided Marlon Brando had to be the part.
Yeah, put him in the singing role.
Yeah.
and put Frank Sinatra in the comedic role. That made so much sense. Paint Your Wagon, there's another good one. It was a terrible musical. It didn't run long on Broadway. But when they brought it back in the late
Lee
60s,
Marvin.
Lee Marvin and Clint Eastwood's America's premier baritones. I was born. It was terrible. It was just terrible.
Yeah, you're right. We need to move on
before we get into the rest of it.
Here's a serious question. What do you hope your musical legacy will be? I'm not trying to finish you off yet, but
no, I hope that and I know a good deal of the kids that started with Broadway Bound back, 2005, 2006, around in there, several of them have become professionals. We had a couple of them join dance companies. And I taught at the High School for the Performing Arts in Baltimore as well before we moved down here. And a lot of those kids, one of them just co-wrote the book for the Bobby Darin musical, Just a Time. He also writes for the New York Times. We've got, students that were in Mamma Mia and Lion King and Hairspray. And I always hope that at some point those kids will, they're adults now, but they'll be able to look back and go, my Doug really taught me a lot or got me interested into this.
Do you get to New York much to see shows?
I don't much anymore. I did hear that the tickets for Ragtime at Lincoln Center are available, so I think I may have to make a little trip up there.
Definitely. What are you reading or watching these days?
Oh, I am reading The Salt and Light Express by my friend Leanne Walling.
You didn't have to say that.
I warned you. I think I'm trapped in the middle of Hamilton somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah, I got up to like chapter 35.
Oh, the book.
The book.
Okay.
The book.
Yeah.
And
that book.
I still have 9,000 pages left in that one.
You're allowed not to finish. I did that this morning. I finally gave up.
I used to really enjoy reading mystery. I read every Agatha Christie. I had a Steinbeck phase that I read everything Steinbeck wrote. I read The Hunchback of Notre Dame in French just for something to do.
Quite the Renaissance man.
I don't know about that. It was a challenge.
Holy crap. What about, let's get pop culture then. What about TV?
Okay. TV, oh boy. I think sometimes my TV viewing is influenced by my husband.
Okay.
Who, if there's a Tyler Perry movie on, we're going to watch it. There's some really smart shows. I love Ghosts. I think that's a great premise.
I've never watched Ghosts.
It's a great premise, and I think it's very funny. I do like the late night talk shows. Mm-hmm. I record everything so I can watch the monologues the next day. Outlander.
I've got to watch that.
Of course, the Game of Thrones thing. And what's that Taylor Sheridan guy?
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, boy, he's got like, what,
800
programs on?
Yeah, he's got a new one coming out with Rip and Beth. Yeah, that's going to be.
I really liked the 1883
That was
prequel.
The best, I thought.
My land.
But did you see the other one, the
1923, which
it was
like, come on.
I just wanted to kill myself.
Yeah. Several of them did too.
Yeah. Well, Doug, I just wanted, can you put in a word for being at working for an inclusive employer like Epworth, and just what it's like to be here in this place that really welcomes all and is totally not judgy.
Well, when I first moved here, I did, put out some resumes if you need a substitute organist or anything. And, I played at an Episcopal church and a Presbyterian church and this and that. I got called here because the organist had triplets. And every summer she took off 10 weeks and took them to the triplet convention.
In for those pregnant women.
I do. I hadn't realized what a thread that is in my life. So I came here in the old building, which turned into the Clear Space Theater. I was down there for the summer, and then something happened here, and they called me, and I went, oh, well, I really like this church. So I I did push to make that a full-time position. And oddly, my very, very conservative Lutheran church growing up, I went back later and thought, oh, well, I'm in town. I'll just drop over to Messiah and see how things are going. They had a gay pride flag out. The music director was trans. It was like, wow, what happened to this? So they're now a community church in the Lutheran tradition.
Okay. Well, Doug, I really appreciate your time. And thanks for enduring all of my technical glitzes and challenges. And we'll see how it goes. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you for listening to Faith, Hope, and Stories. This episode was produced by Leanne Walling. For more information on Epworth United Methodist Church, please go to our website at epworth.faith.